Well, hello one, hello all. Good afternoon one, good afternoon all. Maponga J here live, broadcasting from Johannesburg, South Africa. And it is time to change the looks of things. And as we are welcoming a new season, I thought maybe it would be well that we can start painting up these houses and making them look nice. So yeah, for the greater part of today, you can say I have been a Mapendane. I have been Mapendane also. I have been from home, doing what we do best, a little bit here, a little bit there, adding some beauty to these homes that we live in. And it has been quite an interesting part of the afternoon. As you can see here, I've been changing my painting of my small little house here, doing some painting and making sure that it looks a little bit more like me, you know, on the artistic side. Yeah, that's the introduction that we have, and we are yet this are discussing here on your afternoon channel, where we are doing African traditions, African culture, African theology, African, politics, engineering, and everything else between. The business and the purpose of this show is to get the African people beginning to talk about African problems, and we are in desire to help all of us to find African solutions. The last few days that have gone past us have come to us with great interest and news to the death of our honorable President Robert Mugabe. Yes, some people asking me what happened to my hair. I shaved off my head. In my culture, when people die, like they're dying in South Africa here, I decided I needed to conduct a funeral. I needed to mourn. And when we mourn in my culture, we shave our heads as a sign of mourning. We're mourning for the people that have died during the xenophobia. We're mourning for the girls who are dying due to rape and crime. I don't know what to do, guys. It looks like the devil has come in person into South Africa. And yes, brother Carlos White, nice to have you there. Lawrence Harrison and Duduzo Sosibo, Melissa Barding, all the way from Germany, from Holland. Nice to have you also on the show. I see Kumbu, our top fan, is in the house. Nice to have all of you, and welcome one, welcome all to your afternoon drive live with Maponga J, broadcasting from South Africa, Johannesburg, on your African channel, discussing African problems, challenges, politics, and everything else between. And Watete Wango, Watete Grace is just tuned in from Britain there. Nice to have you on the show. And I would want to maybe let me respect the environment so far. I have lots I wanted to speak about concerning our late president. So, but let me allow him to go underground. Let me allow him to be buried first, and then we will continue picking up the issues on the morsels of the legacies that have been left, the good things that he has left behind for us, the bad weed out of our houses, the challenges that he has left us, unresolved problems and conundrums, political, economic issues that we need to involve ourselves and begin to find solutions to some of those problems. And while we are on that again, I want to introduce to all of us this afternoon to a concept we call AIM, African Indigenous Movement. AIM, African Indigenous Movement. AIM, African Indigenous Movement. Oh, my senior has just walked onto the show, Brian Mungande himself, all the way from United States of America, but we met in Solusi in those old days. I want us to discuss this concept of AIM, African Indigenous Movement. And as a portal, I've been inspired to create a portal of African Renaissance, a portal of African Reformation, a portal of African education, sharing information, a virtual library of information for reformation. So what we're going to do is to create a virtual library. I already have a small one that I've started on Telegram, where we're collecting specific types of works written by African theologians, African anthropologists, African politicians, African economists, and African traditional medicines, and everybody else who is interested and is contributing actually towards the African subjects. Then we collect all this information together, we put it onto a portal, so that in every country, when the youth of that country would like to start a revolution, would like to start an academic revolution, a religious revolution, an economic revolution, a traditional revolution, whatever type of a revolution that you want to start in your own country, you just need to plug into this portal. And there you find in templates, and I can see what Gabriel Mukusha here, who are doctors. We need a revolution in terms of our medicinal issues and our methods of medicine. We need to combine your medical knowledge with indigenous knowledge and hybridize some of this information so that not all diseases need a knife and medicines from the hospitals. Put the whole systems together from fashion right up into politics and governance. And when we have this portal, then every young person in the continent can have access to this portal of AIM. Then, for example, in Kenya, we want to start up KIM, which is Kenya Indigenous Movement. In Gambia, we can do GIM, Gambia Indigenous Movement. In Nigeria, we can do NIM, Nigeria Indigenous Movement. You know, in Lesotho, we can do LIM, Lesotho Indigenous Movement. In Zimbabwe, you're fortunate enough, because I'm from Zimbabwe, I'll assist in the genesis of ZIM, Zimbabwe Indigenous Movement. And take note, I'm not interested, per se, now, to convert these ideas into a political agenda. The idea is, before you can begin to politicize these ideas, you need to develop a critical mass of understanding, a certain amount of intelligence that can deal with the present governance systems, political systems, internal, external policies, economic systems, banking, and etc. You need to understand the system first before you can say you want to change the system. So before people can get excited about Maponga J is now moving into politics, he wants to now start running a political party and etc. That's not the issue right now. The issue is, before you can harvest from any tree, you need to learn how to water the ground, fertilize the ground, put manure on the ground, so that the tree of understanding, re-engineering, a social re-engineering program needs to start. And that's what I'm placing on the face of Africa, that we need to re-engineer the socialization of the African child, academically, medicinally, politically, economically, and all other forms of kalis. If you hear what I'm saying, then only after that can we begin to say we can influence the political terrain. We can influence the policies. We can influence the rulers and the powers that be. Because we'll have developed our own methods of banking, for example, indigenous banking systems. We need to start learning how to move away money from the banks, move the money to ourselves in community and cooperative banks, which necessarily don't need a building. We can secure those monies within ourselves. And then 3, 4, 5 communities doing that. That's exact method that the banks are using in terms of how do we begin now to facilitate, whether we convert those monies into cattle, we convert those monies into property, like I'm doing with one of the groups here on Farmers of Thought Stockfell, where we are beginning to put our monies together so that we can begin to build a certain amount of economic muscle. So please don't get excited about changing and rushing into the political terrain. They will kill you like flies, because these people are running the political systems. They have the intelligence, they have the military, and they have the prisons. You can look back where you're coming from, Sinkaras. You can look back where you're coming from as to what happens to Lumumbas. You can look back to the Chris Honeys. You can look at the Tongo Garas, what happened to them at the hands of the regimes. So you don't hurry. You don't hurry to take an idea like this and say you want to make it into a political forum. Please start off by organizing indigenous African indigenous systems. Start off with AIM. AIM, which is African Indigenous Movement. Put all the traditional leaders together. Learn from them. What do they want as communities? Collect all that information together. Formulate into a national body within your own countries. Then you can have an AIM office in your thing. I will support you from wherever I am, giving you information and etc. At a certain time of the growth of that organization, you breed leaders from your AIM corner who begin to filter into the systems that are running. Only then can you begin to make impact and twist the arm, the political arm of any country that we're running. And I feel like there's lots of information that has been put out there. The Sinkaras, the Kwame Nkrumahs, the Nyereres, the late Mugabes, and the Kaundas, and all of them put together. But that information is scattered around. So I want us to create a coagulated, solid formation which consolidates all African young people together into one basket. Then we can begin to influence the politics, not only of our countries, but the influence of the entire continent. We are fools when we think that when there is war in Zimbabwe, South Africa is safe. When there is war in Congo, Rwanda is safe. When there is war in Togo, Gambia must not worry. When there is war in Nigeria, Ghana is no problem. A problem in one country is a problem for the neighboring countries. Right now, Rwanda has become a hub of refugees because there is war all around those other countries. Until Rwanda picks up an interest on how to help Congo settle, how to help Uganda settle, how to help Kenya to settle. You can never be a group leader in your own class when you're the only one who can speak in English. You need to teach other children also how to speak in English. You can never be successful in your family when you're the only one who is successful and the only one who has money. Then all other children, grandchildren, aunties' children, they will all be stuck on you, pulling money away from you. Learn how to develop other children so that you can share the burden of the family. I feel like Africa is a family that does not have a father at all. Every small little country is trying to do its best. Botswana with 900,000 people, Swaziland 1.2 million people, Lesotho with 1.3 million people, and all of us, Zimbabwe 12 million people at home, the other 7-8 million around the world, and all the small little mentalities that are consuming our leaders. And you find a little president walking around the United Nations, he's a leader of a country, and is only leading a few handful people. It's not possible that a country can fight a continent. A country cannot fight a continent. Swaziland cannot, Eswatini, you cannot fight China. You cannot fight China. Zambia, you cannot fight Europe by yourself. Botswana, you cannot fight America by yourself. We needed to start learning how do we consolidate power as Africans. And I want to recommend this idea of AIM, African Indigenous Movement. Then we start all these indigenous movements in all African countries. We will be able to identify leaders in every country who are going to work together with us here on AIM. The idea is not to work from top down. We want to work from bottom up. Understand your chieftaincies, understand your kings, understand your traditional leaders, group up together. These are the rightful owners, the rightful custodians of land, minerals, and people. So don't worry about the political system. It's just a window dressing, a paraplegic child of Western civilization. Go back to the people. Ask the people what they want. They'll give you an agenda. Once you have your local communities in your hands, be briefed. Do not wish to be elected as a leader. You will be appointed as a leader. When the elders of the village want your support and your help, they will commission you to go and deliver a message to the government. Then you are in business. Then you are in business. Many of our political leaders are leading themselves. They don't even know where the people are. And this movement intends to go back to the grassroots. Reinstate traditional houses. Reinstate traditional houses. Reinstate traditional houses with all our traditional forms of governance. The rural communities, get back to the people. Connect with all your chiefs, your kings who are in your area. Consolidate them together and begin to learn from the past. What is it we can take with us from the past, which we can move with into the future? And with that methodology, I think that Africa, we can begin a movement totally on Africa. I'm a member of 150 groups of Pan-African. And every one of them has a different agenda of what they think Pan-Africa is all about. I want all the Pan-African groups to come together with their information and their knowledge. We create one big portal where all that information, whether it be military intelligence, whether it is insurgencies, whether it is health, whether it is economics, it is politics, we put all that information together, then we can fight the external systems. We can fight the external systems together. And until we learn how to do that, we will never succeed. Divided we fall, united we stand. Divided we fall, united we stand. First time, viva AIM. Viva. Viva AIM, viva. I'll put the logo for you for AIM. Please take the logo, share it around, scatter it around, just stick it out there while we begin to populate it with information. Please keep watch on this show. We'll be telling you and helping you as to how you can build a strong indigenous movement in your own country and begin to have an influence and impact in the politics, the economics, and the running of your own countries. Until we meet again, live with Maponga J, broadcasting from Johannesburg. Have yourself a wonderful afternoon as you are proceeding to go and bury our Honorable Robert Mugabe. May the genuine mercies of the Almighty, may the gods and the spirits of the land guide and direct you. Until we meet again, have yourself a wonderful afternoon. Bye-bye.